Welcome to the I Can Do Anything podcast. My name is Colin, and today I'm not really sure what I'm going to talk about. There is certainly some NBA stuff happening, but because I can do anything, I'm just going to wing it. This episode of the I Can Do Anything podcast is brought to you by Ludus. Selling tickets should be easy so you can focus on what truly matters, your production. The I Can Do Anything podcast is powered by Ludus, built from the ground up for a high school theater director. Ludus is simple and free online ticket sales for K through 12 schools. With a customized ticketing portfolio, Ludus offers great customization features. Choose your own unique domain, pick custom colors to match your organization, and even build a meaningful splash page with the drag and drop editor. Take control of your ticket sales with the advanced control panel tools. Add shows and showtimes, search for tickets, find patron data in seconds, create multiple admin users, and issue exchanges and refunds at the click of a button. One of the best features Ludus has to offer is the ability to generate detailed reports, view revenue data broken down day by day, manipulate your data to answer questions about your sales, and export your data for future use. Ludus also offers powerful reserved seating. Easily let your patrons choose their own seats for your reserved seating shows. Upload your seating chart using our drag and drop maker. Add sections, rows, tables. Choose premium seating, and general admission shows are possible too. Keep track of student sales by simply adding student ledgers. Each student receives a Ludus account and a special sales code that can be applied to any order. When patrons purchase their tickets, they have the ability to print their tickets at home, have them digitally sent to their email for use on mobile devices, or mark them to be picked up at will call. With Ludus, customer service is a breeze. Oftentimes, it's nice to talk to a real person who understands what your job consists of. Ludus offers real-time support through their chat widget, step-by-step guides, videos, and an 888 phone number. Ludus has sold, I don't have a current number, but Ludus has sold, I want to say like over probably, I don't remember what I said last week. I think it was over 600,000 last week. I'm sure it's well over 600,000 tickets sold this year. Visit ludus.com and start selling tickets today with Ludus's forever 100% free guarantee to your program. That is ludus.com. Visit their website today for a free guarantee to your program and great customized ticketing at your fingertips. Okay. So, in NBA news, let me talk NBA first, and then I'm going to just kind of get into some stuff that's been going on in my life and maybe do some current events and news topics. I read a couple interesting and kind of funny news stories that just kind of sparked my interest a little bit. So, Boogie Cousins was injured in Las Vegas in what I think was like a pickup game or maybe some sort of drill. I saw there's TMZ Sports released a video that I don't know if there's a full length video, but it just showed him like going down. It didn't even show him like hitting the ground. It looked like he was finishing at the rim and then sort of falling out of bounds at the baseline. But it didn't show him like landing. It just showed him after the land falling to the ground. You could see a coach kind of put his hands over his head, and players that he was playing with or in a drill with, none of them looked like they were NBA guys. It certainly wasn't Team USA related activities or Lakers related activities. It's interesting. It would be interesting to see what the reaction was if it would have been in a Team USA practice. There's a lot of guys that aren't playing in Team USA stuff this year for this exact reason. I saw a video earlier this week of Booker of the Suns in a pickup game. Ben Simmons was in the pickup game. There were some other NBA guys in the game, but I don't know, those little pickup games that you see people playing in on Instagram and on social media, certainly not the workload, playing in a pickup game that it would be playing for Team USA, who, is holding legit practices and playing in exhibition games. Team USA played an exhibition game last night against Spain and won that game. I'm going to get into that here in a little bit. But what does the Boogie Cousins injury mean for the Lakers? I was excited about the signing of Boogie Cousins as a LeBron James fan, which by the transitive property makes me a Lakers fan. I really don't like calling myself a Lakers fan. I just follow LeBron pretty much wherever he goes. But as a LeBron fan, and by the transitive property, a Lakers fan, I was excited about the Boogie Cousins signing because of who Boogie was in Sacramento. Who he was before all these injuries, and I don't know where he goes from here, man. I mean, it's a reported ACL tear or an ACL injury. I don't know if it's a reported tear, but it's an ACL injury of some sort, which is what Klay Thompson sustained in the NBA Finals in that last game. I think that was the last game. Yeah, that was the last game, I'm pretty sure. He'll be out until probably, an ACL is like a 6 to 7 month recovery. And that's probably bare minimum. So we're not going to see. I would be amazed if we saw Boogie Cousins just now, given the history. I'd be amazed if he were to come back in the playoffs to play with the Lakers. What we've seen with Klay Thompson, with Durant's injury. I'd be amazed if he rushed back to play in the playoffs. It's certainly going to depend on, whether or not the Lakers make the playoffs, which most people, including myself, believe that they more than likely will. This roster certainly looks a lot stronger with the addition of Anthony Davis and some other pieces. It looked really strong with Boogie Cousins, but I don't know. The Boogie Cousins thing was going to be an interesting impact. They were going to certainly play. They were going to go from, the NBA is migrating to small ball with the success of the Warriors, and they were more than likely going to play big ball, so to speak, with LeBron running the point, and then DeMarcus Cousins playing the 5 and Anthony Davis playing the 4. Kuzma and Danny Green. I mean, the shortest guy would be Danny Green as a starter, and Danny Green's 6'4". Kuzma's like 6'6", 6'7". LeBron's 6'7", 6'8". Anthony Davis and DeMarcus Cousins, both legit 7-footers. So they were going to be playing big ball. It'll be interesting to see what happens with the starting lineup now. I think you probably now insert maybe the guy Avery Bradley maybe into the 2 slot, and then you move. Yeah, I don't know. Do you still have LeBron play the point? And then maybe now it looks a little more like small ball. You got LeBron running the point guard duties, so to speak. And then you would have Avery Bradley and Danny Green essentially both playing 2 guard. And then you'd have Kuzma as like a really small 4 that would present matchup issues for any 4-man, more than likely in the league, guarding Kuzma. But on the other end, Kuzma would have issues guarding the 4-man on the block. We saw that in his rookie year. He certainly had a lot of issues defensively on bigger guys. Last year he was improved defensively, but that would present matchup issues on both sides of the floor. So it would just depend on whether or not Kuzma could get the most of whatever the matchup was. And then Anthony Davis at the 5 now, or you could go Anthony Davis 5, LeBron 4. You could put Rondo at point guard and then have Avery Bradley and you could do either Avery Bradley or Danny Green. I think more than likely it would be Danny Green at the 2 and then Kuzma at the 3. So it would be Rondo 1, Danny Green 2 or Avery Bradley 2, Kuzma 3, LeBron 4, and Anthony Davis 5. I think that is more than likely what we'll see. It certainly hurts their depth maybe, but I didn't really necessarily see Boogie Cousins being, the superstar load-carrying player that he was for Sacramento, or even with New Orleans before the Achilles injury. I don't know. He probably would have been playing sort of like what JaVale McGee was playing last year. 15 minutes some games, 10 minutes some games, 30 minutes some games, but maybe averaging somewhere in the 17 to 23 minutes range. JaVale McGee has re-signed with the Lakers, so I don't think they lose a ton, DeMarcus Cousins is a guy that, as a former superstar, as an all-star, wouldn't necessarily be as inept to playing the role-playing duties that JaVale McGee, who comes from much more humble beginnings in his NBA career, as a Shaqtin' a Fool star with the Wizards, and then won championships with the Warriors and has had a great year last year with the Lakers. I think JaVale McGee is a lot more suited to come off the bench and play those 17 to 23 minutes and fill a role a lot better than Cousins would. I think Cousins still probably has the mindset of a scoring superstar, and I honestly, I'm not too worried about the Lakers without Boogie Cousins. I don't think it hurts them very much. It certainly, though, hurts Boogie Cousins moving forward. An ACL injury, and then I believe it was a hamstring injury, and then he didn't get re-injured in the play. Yeah, so ACL or Achilles, and then I believe it was a hamstring or a quad injury in the playoffs that held him out for a while, and then he came back and played all right in the playoffs. He had a good game. He had a couple bad games, and now this ACL injury. It'll be interesting to see where he goes from here. He's going to get paid for this 1 year with the Lakers, but then, man, I don't know who re-signs him, because I don't think he comes back in the playoffs. If he were to come back in the playoffs and play well for the Lakers, he would receive another probably 1 year contract, maybe with the Lakers, depending on whether or not the Lakers win a championship with him or not. But man, if he doesn't come back and play next year, it'll be interesting to see where he ends up. I think if he looks good on the Instagram videos in his recovery, and he plays in exhibitions and pickup games, and he's seen by league scouts playing well, I think he'll get a contract, but it's only going to be for a year, in the, what would that be, the 2020-21 season. But man, I feel bad for Boogie Cousins. You hate to see injuries really to any player. Boogie Cousins, not necessarily regarded for having a great attitude or being a great character guy, but injuries around the league, suck for the league in general. It certainly takes away at least a little bit of the NBA or of the Lakers storyline for this season, but I don't think it hurts it overall. I read an article on Forbes about Draymond Green's new contract extension with the Warriors, which I didn't mention last episode. That happened while I was up at the cottage, right at the beginning of August. He signed or is reported to sign, I don't know if he's signed it yet, a $100 million 4-year contract extension. I believe that third year, or after that third year, there's a player option, so more than likely that'll just be a 3-year contract. But this Forbes article, which is titled "Draymond Green's New $100 Million Deal Exemplifies Flaws with NBA Extensions," kind of points out some of the issues with injuries that the NBA is facing, and sort of where the NBA collective bargaining agreement, stipulations with like first team stipulations, whether or not you can receive a supermax. The team people opting out of playing for Team USA. There's just a lot revolving injuries and contracts that is interesting and certainly affecting a lot of different teams around the league. So this is from May 30th. On Saturday, Draymond Green agreed to a 4-year max extension worth nearly $100 million with the Golden State Warriors, according to ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski. In doing so, he passed up the opportunity for a far larger payday next summer, which exemplifies the flaws with the NBA's extension system. Under the current collective bargaining agreement, teams can extend contracts for up to 5 years, including any years remaining on the deal. However, the starting salary in an extension is limited to 120% of what the player earned the previous year, up to that player's max salary, since Green will earn roughly $18.5 million in 2019-20. That meant his maximum starting salary in an extension is $22.2 million, with an 8% annual raise over the course of the extension. He'll receive roughly $99.7 million through the 23-24 season. Had Green instead played out the final year of his contract and became a free agent in 2020, he would have been in line for much more in the 2021 salary cap. If the 2021 salary cap comes in at $117 million as projected, Green's maximum starting salary would have been $35.1 million, which is 30% of the cap, regardless of whether he re-signed with the Warriors or went elsewhere. That's nearly $13 million more than his starting salary with the new extension. So Green is missing out, for the average civilian, that's a shitload of money. For him, $13 million, but I still have a $100 million contract over 4 years. Had Green signed a 5-year max deal with Golden State next summer with standard 8% annual raises. Damn, they get 8% annual raises in the NBA. They already make all this fucking money, and they still get 8%. They get 8% annual raises of those $1 million, and I get like a fucking 3%. I don't even think it was 3. I think it was a 2% annual raise for my shitty, whatever it is, 5-figure contract. Is that a 5-figure contract? Fuck, I want an 8% raise. I guess a year ago I got a pretty significant, or was that a year ago? Yeah, I guess a year ago I got a pretty significant raise. That I think was more than 8%. I don't know. He would have earned, so had Green signed a 5-year max deal with Golden State next summer, he would have earned more than $200 million over the life of that contract. He signed a 4-year max deal with 5% annual raises elsewhere. If he signed a 4-year max deal with 5% annual raises elsewhere, it would have been worth nearly $151 million. Either way, his max extension was at least $50 million less than what he could have earned as a free agent. He would have qualified for a supermax deal, 35% of the cap, by making an All-NBA team or being named NBA or Defensive Player of the Year. He could have signed. I keep the little qualifiers, the ifs and the hads, I keep leaving out. Had he qualified for a supermax deal by making an All-NBA team or being named Defensive Player of the Year, he could have signed a 5-year, $237.5 million contract with the Warriors, nearly $140 million more than his max extension. Granted, there's no guarantee that a team would have offered Green that much money. According to ESPN's Bobby Marks, only 5 teams are currently projected to enter next summer with at least $25 million in salary cap space, although the New York Knicks could join them depending on what they do with their plethora of non-guaranteed contracts at the end of the year. Watching both Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson suffer significant injuries may have further incentivized Green to lock in a 9-figure contract as soon as possible, although both Durant and Thompson still received max deals this summer in the aftermath of their injuries. Who's to say that the same would have applied to Green? That's certainly a very good point. Green is not the player that those guys are, although he is certainly the glue, the heartbeat of the Warriors. He's just not a prolific scorer and like a 1 or 2 option. I don't know. Green's a superstar. He's a fucking all-star. He's a game changer. He had a great playoffs for the Warriors, but who's to say that he would have still received that same amount of money? I don't think he would be the same player that he is. Obviously, if he were the number 1 scorer, I don't think he'd have the same impact on a team. I don't think he'd have the same production. He may, his points per game may go up, but his productivity would certainly more than likely go down. Take one look at DeMarcus Cousins, who appeared to be on course for a 5-year max deal prior to his Achilles injury in January of 2018. This article was written before the ACL injury that happened this week. He ended up settling for a 1-year, $5.3 million taxpayers mid-level exception with the Warriors in the past season and took even less 1 year later, $3.5 million, to sign with the Los Angeles Lakers this summer. Green might have split the difference between Durant, Thompson, and Cousins had he tested the free agent market after a significant injury, but turning down this $100 million contract extension would have been a risk regardless. That begs the question of whether the extension system itself needs to change. Okay, so limiting the starting salary of extensions to no more than 120% of the player's previous salary had unintended consequences in the wake of the 2016 salary cap spike. Since the cap jumped from $70 million to $94.143 million in one season, even players who signed max extensions coming off their rookie deals, such as Kyrie Irving, could receive far less in an extension than they would by becoming free agents. Had the Boston Celtics been able to offer Irving his full $32.742 million extension or $1 million max starting salary and an extension rather than only $24.1 million, would he still be in Boston today? Would Bradley Beal be more inclined to sign an extension with the Washington Wizards if they could offer him his full $37.5 million max starting salary rather than $34.5, which is only, a $3 million difference? Again, not a huge difference for these guys who are making millions of dollars, but to you and I, that's a huge difference. This may soon become what if you got offered a contract for $50,000 or $3,050,000? So this soon may become a non-issue as rookie scale extensions signed before the 2016 cap spike get phased out over time. Andrew Wiggins, who signed a 5-year, $147.7 million max extension in 2017, could get $40.3 million in the first year of an extension in a 2023-24 compared to $40.3 million in the first year of an extension in 2023-24 compared to $41.3 million on the free agent market based on the projected $137.8 million cap. He would earn nearly $3 million more on a 4-year extension, $180.7 million, than he would by signing with another team in free agency, $177.8 million. That's based on current projections, but to account for any unexpected cap spikes in the future, why not allow incumbent teams to offer players their full max salary in the first year of an extension? Between that and the higher annual raises they can offer, which are 8% compared to 5% from other suitors. So that's another stipulation. If you re-sign a extension with your current team, it sounds like you can have an 8% annual raise as opposed to a 5% annual raise if you switch teams, or just don't, or if you don't switch teams and you go, I think if you don't switch teams and go into free agency. So it sounds like if you sign an extension, you're eligible for an 8% raise, and if you don't, it's a 5% raise. Teams might not be able to convince more players to sign extensions and eschew free agency altogether. If teams are frustrated with the amount of player movement in recent years, overhauling the rules regarding extensions in the next CBA might help address that issue. I believe the next CBA is this upcoming, I think it's the 21-22 free agency period. So the summer, what would that be? The summer of 2021. So 2 years from now, I believe, is the next CBA. The next CBA or the collective bargaining agreement discussions, or whenever they would rework the collective bargaining agreement. I'm not sure on that, but all those numbers, even when you're looking at them on a computer screen like I am, kind of run together. I'm not exactly a math whiz. So I hope all that made sense. Needless to say, Draymond Green is staying with the Warriors for the long term. It was, he was surprisingly kind of the headliner, so to speak, for the 2021 next summer's free agency. So I think Bradley Beal will be, unless he re-signs with the Warriors, or not the Warriors, with the Wizards. But next free agency, I don't think is going to be nearly as exciting as this free agency was. This was a great one. Certainly one of the best in NBA history, up there with LeBron going to the Lakers last year, and LeBron going back to Cleveland, and LeBron going to Miami, and, Kevin Garnett going to the Celtics with Ray Allen. This year was great. I don't anticipate next year being nearly as great. So let's transition into Team USA beating Spain last night. Spain's going to be the best team other than the USA in these World Cups. They won by, I think, 9 or 11 or something like that. It was kind of a blowout for a while. I think Spain kind of narrowed the gap a little bit. It wasn't what we traditionally see from Team USA teams, especially in these exhibitions. They generally just blow people away. I went to an exhibition, I don't remember what year that would have been, maybe 2015. I think it was like right after I graduated. I'm not sure what year that was, but in Chicago, Team USA scrimmaged against Brazil, and I went to that game. That was right around when Derrick Rose was coming back from his injuries, and I think that would make sense then in terms of that timeline, 2015-ish. That was cool to see Derrick Rose in Chicago. That was the first time I ever saw him play live. And I'm pretty sure they just blew Brazil out. So, I don't know. After Team USA last week lost to the USA Select team, who was headlined by Travis Trice and the Spurs Anderson, whose first name I'm drawing a blank on right now, a kid that came out of UCLA. The USA Select team, who they won some tournament or something that's Stan Van Gundy, or not Stan Van Gundy, one of the Van Gundy brothers. Was it Stan? No, Stan's the fat one, the one that does the announcing. I don't know, the one that I love as an announcer with Mark Jackson, was the coach of that USA Select team, and they reportedly beat this Team USA senior team in a scrimmage. Dobbs sent me the score. It was like fucking 26-15 or something like that. Just like a short little scrimmage in practice that received scrutiny on social media, I'm sure. But this is the best team. Spain is going to be the best team in the World Cup outside of the USA, and the USA handled them pretty well. I still don't see the USA not winning this World Cup. Australia will be pretty good. There was talks of Kyrie Irving potentially playing for Australia. I don't think he's playing for USA or Australia since he was born, I believe, in Australia or spent most of his time. I think he has dual citizenship. I'm not sure exactly on that, but I know that his dad played ball in Australia. I think he was born in Australia and has dual citizenship in the U.S. and Australia. I don't think, though, that he is playing. He's like a lot of these NBA stars that are not participating in the World Cup because they don't want to end up like Boogie Cousins and get injured. Although Boogie did it in training, which all these guys are doing. You can't just not train because I mean, injuries happen. You can't just not train and get better because you're worried about an injury. But Team USA beat Spain last night in an exhibition in Anaheim. That's going to be their biggest competition. That's who they will more than likely, if the brackets align properly, more than likely who they will play in the championship game at the FIBA World Cup. I don't know when that starts in China. I think that probably starts relatively soon. FIBA World Cup China start date. Come on. That starts August 31st. Yeah, so that's coming up here pretty soon, within the next couple weeks. It'll certainly be fun to watch. These guys are still fun to watch. Donovan Mitchell played well last night. Jason Tatum played well last night. Kemba Walker's really fun to watch. So the FIBA World Cup will still be, at least a little bit of exciting basketball action as the summer winds down, as football starts, and the NBA schedules have been released. I'm excited about them. Dob is really fucking excited about them. I don't know if they were released before last. I don't remember when they got released, but Dob was texting me and was super excited. I can't remember if I talked about him last episode. I'm super excited. The fucking season, think about this. It's August. The next month is September, and the one after that is October. The current date, while I'm recording this, is August 17, and I believe the first game is October 17, so we're exactly 2 months away from the NBA season. No, the first game will be October 15 or 22, maybe. So we're right about 2 months away from the NBA season starting. That is really amazing. It seems like it just ended. Okay, this portion of the I Can Do Anything podcast is brought to you by Slump, by Dave Jarzina. Jarzina's debut novel is the tale of a 13-year-old named Mitchie Evers. He's at odds with every single person in his life. His friends, even old reliable best buddy Sammy, no longer seem to appreciate Mitchie's sparkling wit. His parents are so busy gushing over his perfect older brother that they don't have time for Mitchie. One by one, he alienates his best friend, family, teachers, and former soccer coach with his bullheadedness and his inappropriate and ill-timed sense of humor. With his penchant for hurting and insulting people, Mitchie makes a convincing jerk. Mitchie knows he's a little too young to be in a serious slump, but what can he do about it? Purchase the book to find out that countless readers recommend anywhere you buy books: Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Audible, Apple Books, Google Play, and more. This podcast is also brought to you by Rangefinder. Do you have trouble finding your range on the course? Rangefinder helps you dial it in, whether you're on the tee box, in the fairway, in the rough, or making your approach. Rangefinder can help improve that handicap. Caddies across the world use Rangefinder to make club selection a breeze, but they won't help with that breeze coming in from the east. So stop guessing how far away you are from that flag and start knowing with Rangefinder. Our listeners can get 50% off on their next order by visiting rangefinder.com/anything. That's rangefinder.com/anything. Okay, so I went to therapy. Yeah. I went to therapy was that on Monday? Maybe on Tuesday? Yeah, I went to a therapy session on Tuesday and was kind of introduced to the process of therapy, found out kind of how the whole thing works. My first session, as explained by my therapist, who I'm now going to be seeing, I can't really afford to go to therapy like as much as maybe I would like to. I really thoroughly enjoyed going to therapy and just talking about my life and talking about stuff that I deal with, minor anxiety issues. I think the reason I call it minor is because I think everybody's got anxiety, and that's something that I talked about with the therapist. I think everybody's got it. It's just a part of our natural survival instincts from that we've inherited from ancestors thousands and thousands of years ago. Anxiety is just a judgment of a person or a judgment of a situation based on our need to survive. It's just a survival instinct. I think it's really natural, and it's only now becoming a lot more, just mental health in general is only now becoming a lot more socially accepted and mainstream. You certainly hear a lot of different people talk about the importance of mental health. The NBA has now just reported like a week or so ago, it might have even been this past week, that they're now gonna require that all teams have a mental health professional on retainer. I think a lot of teams already are adopting that policy, and already have like full-time mental health guys. I think maybe full-time is probably stretching it. Maybe teams don't have like a full-time psychiatrist or counselor, so to speak, on staff, but they certainly have them on retainer so that they're at players' disposal if needed. But the NBA will now require that all teams have a mental health professional on retainer. So the NBA, mental health is a rising concern nationally. You see it a lot with these shootings, with these smartphones that we're all holding on to. Social media is increasing anxiety amongst the youth in America, and certainly in countries across, in countries that aren't third world countries with the internet, basically, across the world. So I've just kind of it's something that I've always been interested in over the past couple of years. I'm a big fan of Charlemagne the God, who is now really, really pushing the mental health agenda on his platforms. So it's something that I've been kind of interested in over the last year or so, maybe the last couple of years. And I think it's just a good general health practice. You go to the doctor annually. Some people go to the doctor more than often. I'm certainly a bit of I really don't like to use the term hypochondriac. I think, again, just like anxiety, we all have that borderline necessity and desire that, I guess it's not a necessity or a desire. We all have that instinct that kicks in that, tries to keep us alive. And I certainly probably, take a lot better care of my body than a majority of Americans do. But I just wanted to go to therapy to kind of see what it was like. So this first session, she basically explained to me the first couple of sessions, I'll kind of just get a baseline of where you're at, what your goals are for therapy, what you struggle with in life, in terms of your mental health and your anxiety, and just work on getting you used to talking to a complete stranger about really personal things. And as soon as she said that, I was kind of I said to her, I don't think you're going to have any issue with getting me to talk. I'm a pretty open book. I pretty much gave up lying years ago. There's really at this point in my life, I really don't have a reason to lie to people. Like I've always been kind of just a straightforward person. I just don't feel like I've got much of a reason to lie anymore. Like in terms of like, I don't know, there's certain settings, where I'm sure I would still lie, but generally speaking, I'm just pretty much an open book, and I had no trouble whatsoever just letting it all flow out at this therapy session. I talked about a lot of stuff, and she was really great. I mean, I'm sure that, she's a professional. I'm sure that most therapists are really good at just asking you a question and kind of just letting you go. And then she really steered me back on track a couple of times where I like kind of lost my train of thought. But man, we covered a lot of different stuff. It was really great. And I left there, a lot of times, like, my headspace, my general, I struggle with headaches, and a lot of it comes from tension in my like upper back, my trap muscles that go into my, the back of my neck and up into the back of my head, and then up through the top in front of my head and down into my eyes. And that's generally relieved when I'm exercising frequently, or after I exercise in the morning. I can feel like the pressure behind my eyes is a little bit less, and my head just feels a little bit lighter after an exercise, and my general overall mental health, I feel like, is a lot better. After I've exercised, I just feel just more at ease, more at peace with where I'm at in my life. I've got a really great job. I've got a really great girlfriend that I go home to at night, and I'm really happy right now, just kind of living a very regular life. I kind of always thought of myself, like as a kid, I thought I was going to be in the NBA. I thought I was going to be a rich superstar, and I'm over the last couple of years, I've been coming to terms with the fact that I'm just a fucking guy. And that's kind of like been a mantra of mine, and one that I kind of adopted with and from my good buddy Sloan Whitaker, who, I'm just a guy. It kind of became an inside joke, where we would just, like, after certain thing, it applies both ways. You can humbly, call yourself just a guy when somebody gives you a compliment. You can say, hey, listen, I'm just a guy. Or in this kind of setting, I'm just a fucking guy that goes to work, comes home, makes dinner, reads a book at night, watches a TV show, watches some sports, and goes to bed and does it all over again. And I'm coming to terms with that. And that's kind of something that we discussed. I just, I don't know. It was really good. So I just felt like, exercise. Oh, there we go. That's where I was at. The exercise is generally what makes me feel a lot better overall, in terms of, just like I don't have headaches nearly as often, or the headaches aren't nearly as bad if I'm working out pretty regularly, or if I work out right in the morning. My day is much better. And I didn't work out before I went to this therapy on Tuesday, and I felt that same mental clarity. I felt that same ease of the pressure behind my eyes and in my head as I was walking out of this therapy session. And for the remainder of the day, really, it really just kind of like set the mood for the day. And I wish financially that I could do it every week. I think it would be something that would be really cool. I think I'm a little bit. I learned about a new term called home broke, or home. Is it home broke? Home poor, something like that. I'm struggling a little bit right now financially, just because of the house that I bought in November, and was sort of venting a little bit at the end of the week to my good buddy Kev Dog, who, through my college days really, really was a mentor for me. And just kind of my parents are really great mentors. But he's kind of my elder statesman, my wise set of ears that I go to that aren't my parents, somebody that I can talk to about, my parents are, again, I'm pretty much an open book to my parents about most things. They're really cool and really understanding and just very laid back socially and don't really give a shit about the stuff that, I cuss and all that stuff in front of my parents. My parents know about, my sex life and they know about pretty much everything going on in my life and that I've done in my life and all the wild shit that I did in college and all that. So, I go to them for most things, but Schneider is kind of a guy that I go to just bounce ideas off. He's probably the smartest person that I know and have ever known or have ever met, and just has a lot of different life experiences. Has lived and traveled in Europe many different times for extended periods of time. Just a really great guy to bounce ideas off of. So I was talking to him about some of my financial issues and, considerations of potentially selling my house. I don't know. So I talked to him and he kind of eased my mind a little bit he said that this is pretty much normal towards the end of that first year of owning a home, as finances start to catch up a little bit. That financial struggles can cause a little bit of stress, and I'm certainly going through that now. So I think weekly therapy could be really great for me. I would love to get a professional therapist's opinion on that type of thing. He recommended refinancing my mortgage, which is something I've been researching towards the end of this week, and something that I think I'm going to do, because my interest rate on my mortgage is like 5.125, and most mortgage rates or most mortgage interest rates are like down in the 3.6 ish. I saw one as low as 3.25, but I don't think that was for the type of loan that I have. I have a conventional 30-year fixed mortgage rate. So I'm going to refinance, which is really cool. That can save me potentially like $100 to maybe even a couple $100 on my monthly mortgage payment, which would help out a lot. I did a freelance gig up at my cottage, and I'm sort of I don't know, looking at different options for doing some more freelance gigs. I used to do a lot of, I don't know about a lot of, but I used to do wedding videography on the side. I really hated doing that. I think weddings are generally really fucking stupid, and I don't care about them. So I kind of stopped doing wedding videography because I'm just a bad guy because I don't give a shit about weddings. I'm just a bad guy to be trying to capture, a couple's biggest day of their life or whatever. I don't know. It's just not really especially because I generally speaking do it for just family and friends. I just don't think I'm the guy to be doing it. So I don't know. Maybe I'll go back to doing some weddings. If it were to pop up, I think I'd probably say yes to one right now. Just because I just said that and put that out into the world, somebody's going to fucking ask me to do a wedding. I know it. I was just at a video shoot yesterday down at our Trine University Carew Street campus, doing a walkthrough tour of the surgical tech facility that just was built at the Carew Street campus. And one of the women there does real estate part-time, and she was the one that suggested that we do a walkthrough of the new campus, the surgical tech campus, or the surgical tech facilities, I guess. She does real estate on the side and suggested that, and started talking to me about doing, or I guess she suggested, or she mentioned me doing it for her, and I kind of laughed. I didn't know that she was serious, and she goes, "You laugh, but I'm serious." And I was like, "No, I'm serious too. I'm actually looking for freelance stuff right now, and I would love to do it." So I sent her an invoice. So that is exciting. But I think we all deal with stress, financial stress. People, millions and millions of Americans are not in a position where they, have a significant or a comfortable amount of savings where they don't have to worry about, a $700 air conditioning repair or a, lofty car repair that comes out of nowhere. My guy Andrew Yang right now is running for the 2020 presidential nominee for the DNC, I guess, for that. He's campaigning basically with that as the, his chief proposal is $1,000 a month in basic universal income for all Americans over the age of 18. And I'd love $12,000 extra. That would make a significant difference in my life if I made $12,000 extra per year. That would make a huge difference. That would take out a lot of stress in my life, and a lot of stress in a lot of different Americans' lives. I don't know. It's hard for me. The universal basic income. I will more than likely vote for Andrew Yang in 2020. If he doesn't get the DNC nomination, I'll probably still write him in. I've never voted before. I've never donated to a political campaign, and I've donated to Andrew Yang's campaign twice now. So I've never voted before, and I don't think I will vote unless I'll still vote. If Andrew Yang doesn't get the DNC nomination, which it's more than likely that he won't, it's still a long ways away, and he's made, even in the last, when did I see him on Rogan? Was that in January or February? So even in the last 5 to 6 months, he's made a significant increase in his he's gone from being a nobody to polling fourth or fifth right now as a Democratic nominee for the Democratic nomination in the 2020 elections. So, we're still a long ways away from the 2020 elections, and I really hope he does it, and I think he can do it, but more than likely he won't. And I think that if he isn't, I'm probably still going to write him in because I don't know. Going back to the universal basic income though, I think that I don't know that it's all good because the conservative in me says that that'll just make prices for everything else go up. If you increase the minimum wage like Bernie Sanders wants to, that's just going to make the price of a cheeseburger, or in my case, of quinoa, go up. To that same factor, or it'll go up in that same marginal difference. So I don't know. I'm sort of in favor of universal basic income. I don't think. I'm not of the mindset that we've all got to be working 40 hours a week. Maybe it's just not necessary anymore. Maybe you baby boomers that are you're so set on Americans work 40 to 50 hours a week. We work hard and you earn a hard living, and maybe it's not necessary anymore. I'd certainly love to work 20 hours a week and enjoy some free time and have money to go out on the jet ski for 3 hours in a day and not have to worry about, am I going to be able to afford the gas for this jet ski, or even be able to afford a jet ski in the first place. I'd love to just have some extra free time to hire a cleaning lady so I don't have to spend, a couple 2-3 hours every week cleaning various portions of my house and fucking doing laundry. I'd love to be able to hire somebody to, how great would it be to have just a little extra income to be able to give yourself a little free time, or to have, I just don't think we all need to be working as hard anymore. As automation takes over, it's kind of inevitable. Do we all need to be working? I don't know. Yeah. So there's my universal basic income spiel for the day. But going back to mental health, I just think that it's important. I think that it's something that if I could afford to do again, I'd be doing it more often. I'm going to be doing it, I think, monthly. So I have an appointment scheduled for at the beginning of September I'm going to try to do it monthly if my finances can allow me to do so. If not, I may do it like bi-monthly or every 3 months or so. But it's something that at least on somewhat of a frequent basis, on somewhat of a scheduled basis, regardless of how frequent, I'm going to be doing therapy. And man, I was telling my parents, I really wish I would have brought a microphone and my audio mixer to the therapy session and just talked into the microphone while I was talking to her, because man, I really had it going. I really had it flowing, and it could have been a really great podcast. But I'm not going to do any news. I'm at about 55 minutes right now, so I think you've got a pretty good taste. You've heard enough. I think you've heard enough. This episode of the I Can Do Anything podcast is rounded out by Beat Freak. When it comes to making beats, you don't need sophisticated beat-making software. You don't even need instruments. With powerful technology that has an array of instruments to choose from, you never have to use a tinny-sounding snare snippet or a dull guitar riff again. The latest in synthesizer and electronic production components comes at an affordable price with Beat Freak. Visit beatfreak.com/anything for your limited time offer at amazing professional quality sounding instruments at your fingertips. Don't be a freak. Get Beat Freak. Thank you for listening to the I Can Do Anything podcast, sponsored by Slump, Rangefinder, Beat Freak, and Ludus. Go check out all of our sponsors. I really appreciate their help making the I Can Do Anything podcast possible. Thank you for listening. I'm still going to do that ESPN article on the injuries and the state of AAU basketball and how that affects the NBA. It's going to happen. I think Dobbs going to come next Sunday. He can't come this Sunday, which is why you're listening to my voice currently. But yeah, we're still gonna do that. I'm excited about that one, so I'm still gonna do that. That'll more than likely be next Sunday, and we'll see you then.